welcome to the Half Acre Farming channel. Figured I would start us off with our first video and teaching you all how I make my sandwich bread. Sourdough is so big right now, and don't get me wrong, I love sourdough, but it's a little too bitey for me to have all the time. So we prefer just regular sandwich bread, and then luckily our neighbors make sourdough and they gift us a loaf every now and then, so that's always wonderful. But regular white sandwich bread, it only takes 4 ingredients. So I use instant yeast, salt, honey, and I use bread flour. You can use all-purpose, but the bread flour just makes it a little bit lighter. So if you use all-purpose, just be prepared, it might be a little denser. So we'll go ahead and get started. You need 4 cups of your flour. So you want to go ahead and start by adding in 4 cups of flour. This doesn't have to be sifted flour. I just kind of fill up the measuring cup and dump it in. You're going to mix it up anyway before you add in your wet ingredient, so it doesn't really matter. Next, you'll put in 1 tablespoon of yeast, add 1 teaspoon of salt, and go ahead and turn your mixer on. Let the dry ingredients mix up a little bit, and then we're going to add the honey. Now you'll want to go ahead and add in about 2 tablespoons of honey. You can measure or not. I just kind of eyeball it, so do whatever feels right to you. Now you can let your honey mix into your dry ingredients for a little bit, and while you're doing that, get some warm water and put it in a measuring cup. You'll need about 1.5 cups of warm water. Sometimes, depending on the weather, it takes a little bit more or a little bit less, so you want to add it in a little bit at a time. By warm, if you want to temp it, usually about 110 degrees. If you go too hot, you'll kill the yeast and your bread won't rise. If you go too cool, it won't activate the yeast and you'll have a hard time getting your bread rising. So go ahead and let your dough knead and get to the right consistency. You can keep adding a little bit more water at a time until you reach the consistency that you want. What you're looking for is for the dough to stick to the bottom just a little bit and not to the sides. So you want to have a clean bowl on the sides, stick at the bottom. So now that we've reached about the consistency that we want, we're going to go ahead and let the dough knead for about 6 to 8 minutes. Now that your dough is done kneading, you can turn off your mixer, lift it up, and clean all of that beautiful dough off of the strong arm. Okay, so now that it's all kneaded, take a dish towel or a clean cloth of some kind, cover it up, start your timer for 1 hour, let it rise, and then we'll check back then. All right, so it's been about an hour. Our dough has about doubled in size. Let me get this off of here and show you. So what we'll do now is take it out of the bowl, and we're just gonna knead it a couple of times so that we can put it into our already greased bread pan. So once you have your dough in the bread pan, you can cover it with the same dish towel and let it rise for another hour. And after about an hour, you can throw your bread into the oven at 375 degrees. Bake it for about 30 minutes and then pull it out, brush it with melted butter. You'll want to use about a tablespoon. If you use too much, your bread will get very dark and the crust will be very hard. So after you've put it back in the oven for about 15 minutes, you'll want to check it and make sure the temperature in the center is about 200 degrees. Then you can take it out and let it cool in the pan for just a few minutes before you move it to a drying rack. Once you move it to the drying rack, you can take it out, let it cool for a few more minutes. If you cut into it while it's still hot, then the inside will be a little damp. So you want to let it cool for a good amount of time before you start to cut. When you cut, it should be smooth like butter. Cut your first piece. Billy and I always like to split the first butt piece. And there you go. I hope you enjoy your sandwich bread. Let me know how it turns out.